All right. Hi there, good morning. Hey, I'm Tommi Uhari. I'm with Karma.vc and I'm hosting this panel on the race to invest in CEE, and I've got here Arın and Mitch, Arın from 500 and Mitch from Taiwania Capital. At Karma.vc, we invest in deep tech software startups in Europe. There's a lot of great technology talent that we see also in the CEE region. We are not like an exclusive CEE investor, but we've made 20 investments out of 2 funds. 13 of them are in the region. And we've got investments in Romania, Hungary, Poland, all the Baltic states. But maybe we could start off with a quick introduction before we get to the final topic, or to the actual topic. So do you, Mitch, want to go next?
We are Taiwania, and I'm the managing partner of the CEE fund in Taiwania. The fund itself is 200 million euro. The fund was just established last year, so we started operating around mid-year. And so far, we already invested in 4 companies in the region, 2 in Lithuania, 1 in Czechia, and the other one in Slovenia. We currently have at least 3 companies in the final stage of legal due diligence. So our target for finishing this year is at least 6 companies in the CEE region. So I'm very happy and very honored to have this opportunity to TechChill to share with what we found in the past 12 months in the region, and and we are very happy to listen from you guys. Thank you.
So yeah, hi everyone. I'm Arın. I'm one of the general partners at 500 Emerging Europe. So we are investing quite similarly, and that's why I'm here, across what we call Emerging Europe, which for us is anywhere across Turkey, Eastern Europe, and Baltics. We are currently on fund number 2. The first one was founded back in 2016, has 3 unicorns in the portfolio, a couple $100 million companies as well. So that's how we were able to establish this one. This is a 70 million euro fund that's investing primarily at pre-seed and seed. Very sector agnostic, idea stage, MVP, maybe some sort of traction, so quite early on. And the whole idea is to sort of try and help some of the founders from this region get to more of the kind of the Western markets. We are part of 500 globally as well, so how it works is there are funds like us across different parts of the world, like LATAM, Southeast Asia, MENA, US, and we're all under the same umbrella of 500 funds. In terms of our investments in CEE, in Fund 1 we had, I think, 8 investments, and in Fund 2 currently we have 5, so Hungary, 2 in Poland, 1 in Romania. We're about to close an investment in Estonia as well and hope to do much more across the Baltics.
Great. I don't know when the title for this panel was coined about this race to invest in CEE. When I looked at the latest statistics, it looks like CEE is in the same bucket as all of VC funding, so it's actually like in decline, like quarter on quarter. Any thoughts on that? Is the CEE region taking a bigger hit than the rest of the world, or is it more resilient in terms of investment opportunities? Like how does it look like to you?
I think it's not taking a bigger hit from what I'm seeing. It's all like CEE is a big region, obviously. So maybe excluding Estonia, because it is a more of a developed kind of a nation in terms of startups and the ecosystem in general. But the other parts, like where we invest in, especially across the other parts in Baltics, but plus Hungary, Romania, and sort of Poland as well, Bulgaria. So all of these countries have quite a similar dynamic where things are starting to sort of happen, and that snowball effect that's already happened probably in Estonia with all of the Skype, Pipedrive, Wise, Bolt, all of these sort of different companies are just happening now. So the initial success stories are now evolving. So I think they're all in their infancy stage. From that perspective, I don't think it has affected the region that negatively because things are just happening and a lot more companies are being established that we're seeing that were ex-founders or ex-employees early employees at some of these companies. And we do expect to see much more, to be honest. In terms of funding, one thing that might have happened, obviously, is a lot of the more Western European investors that were looking maybe more actively across the region have now gone back to their original markets and are sort of doubling down on their own portfolio companies and are sort of a bit more hesitant to invest. But, from our perspective, it hasn't really changed.
A bit better opportunity for you as the
definitely.
Western European investors. Mitch, any reflections on this?
The original question given by Tommi to us is there a race to invest in the CEE region? For Taiwanese and for Taiwania capital, yes, of course, there's a race. And we rush all the way from Taiwan, that's 10,000 kilometers away, to this region to invest. Because we are new, so we are not quite aware of what happened in the past 2 years. But in the past 10 months that we first visited here, we feel that this is a green field to us. And because of the talents, because of the richness of companies along different sectors, actually we feel that the valuation, especially after last year, the valuation of the company in this region actually is more reasonable than companies even in Asia or United States. And with our ticket size of 2 to 20 mil, we actually come in to fill the gap because we know that there are a lot of Series A, Series B company around. They have problem looking for funding, and with the kind of target that we are looking at, we happily to find out a lot of companies, especially VC, are very happy to work with us because the role we play, not just in terms of the money we bring in to fill the gap between 2 to 20, but also because of the experiences, because our partners, including myself, have extensive experiences in running and a founding company. We have partner a serial entrepreneur on our boards, and they are extremely helpful when we invest in company in this region because we know how to guide this company to go global, particularly in the US and in Asia.
Looking at this Central and Eastern Europe as a market, are there some particularities that make it special in your mind? Do you have some structure requirements for companies? Do the companies need to flip to the US before you invest? Any particularities here on the market and the requirements that you would have for the companies? Maybe Mitch, you can continue, and then Arın.
One thing we found and happily surprised is we found that there are a lot of biotech companies. The percentage of biotech opportunities are much higher than we originally expected. Later we found out it's a no-brainer because the basic science and basic research education are so strong in this region. Each and every country, we found there are different unique strengths and focuses on biotech. So it's not just health tech, med tech, but also into AI, into drug discovery, and also pharmaceutical companies that are looking for developing new drugs. So that's pretty unique. But with the kind of background we have, we are capable of evaluating this type of companies and bringing to the market. So and help them to do business development in both Asia and Taiwan and United States for all type of medical trials. So and that's what we capable of bringing to, and that's the thing that we found in this region.
So I think for us, the whole idea and the main fund thesis anyway with having the fund that's named Emerging Europe is we believe across Eastern Europe and Baltics, there's this coherent founder profile that makes it very interesting for us. So number one, obviously, there's a lot of good engineering talent. But number two, because most of these countries are not, like including Turkey and even Poland, which do sort of stand out a little bit as being a bit bigger countries. Most of these countries are not that big in terms of the local markets. So that actually has a very positive effect where most of the founders across CEE are looking to build global businesses. So you can't really find this in, let's say, Germany or Netherlands or France, where a lot of the entrepreneurs will try to build more local businesses as they believe the markets are large enough. But in those cases, the businesses don't end up being global businesses from day one, which is what we're very interested in. And that's why we're quite bullish on the sort of the region, quite like an Israel kind of a story where we do see a lot of founders go very quickly to global markets, find their first customers from there. So that's why we're quite bullish and trying to be that kind of a bridge to US especially, or to UK or Germany, to other markets in Europe. With regards to the question on company domiciliation or where they're based, we don't really care. Like wherever it makes much more sense for them is okay with us. But what we found is so we've made 20 investments in this fund. I think 15 of them probably are Delaware companies. Everyone's sort of because it's easy, because they do safes. It's much easier to incorporate there. But we've also done a couple of Estonian safes as well, because it's also quite structured over there in Estonian companies. So from that perspective, we don't care. I think the number one thing for us is to invest in people with that kind of a global mindset, trying to go to more of the sort of Western markets, which we can very easily find across Eastern Europe.
Thanks. So global mindset is interesting, and then this biotech know-how and structure-wise, Arın, you don't have you see companies with Delaware holding, but it's not a requirement for you. What about you, Mitch? Like the 4 investments that you made, were they companies incorporated in those countries, or were they already flipped to be a US company, or were they US companies to start with?
No, they don't have to. As long as we feel that their business plan, their go-to-market are okay, they don't have to flip to a US company or Taiwanese company. So, we are very flexible with that. Even because the fund is a CEE fund, it's mandated to invest in companies in the region, but it's flexible. If you want to have it headquarters and in US or in other country, that's fine. As only as the majority of activities, such as R&D or tech people or manufacturing is done in this region, then it's fine. So that's the flexibility of the fund.
Yeah. I'll just share an experience we've had on the holding company structures, and we've actually seen like later round investors like requiring a US flip, and sometimes deciding like where your holding company it is. It's like the earlier you do, the easier it is, because later there are kind of potential tax risks, or you have to like do more work to avoid the taxation. So we've seen that happen here in Latvia. We've seen it happen in companies we've had in Poland, Hungary, and in Romania. So when the rounds are like 10 million or 30 million, it can be that it's a requirement from the investor that it's in a jurisdiction that they've done business before, and as the CEE is kind of emerging, so for some investors to provide the comfort, you may need to consider this. That's just like a thought that we've seen. But perhaps like a more interesting question still, like outside this kind of like structure of companies, is the people, so the founders. So any thoughts on these CEE founders? Like how do you connect with them on a human level, or do you see any specific characteristics? So Arın, do you want to start?
Yeah. So I mean, maybe like building on top of the previous sort of question as well. So as I said, they're very globally focused from day one, which is a great sort of a characteristic as compared to, so with 500 as well, like across different regions. When we were like establishing this fund at the start, one of the ideas was to form a kind of a MENAT fund, as it was called back at the day, which was kind of like a MENA meets Turkey kind of a fund as well. And it's a completely different founder profile. So a lot of the people across MENA, for example, are, because the markets are quite large.
MENA, Middle East, Northern
East,
Africa.
yeah, North Africa, are actually trying to build businesses that are more locally focused, clones of global businesses. So that is a different kind of a founder profile where it's much more focused on execution. It's much more focused on whether you can sort of copy that model and bring it sort of home, let's say. Across Eastern Europe, that doesn't work. So naturally, that's actually turns into an advantage where a lot of the people are, from day one, sort of quite driven in terms of how they'll make it in the UK, you know, how they make it in US, when they should move there, you know, things that they want to try out. So they're quick in getting a lot of feedback, quick in trying to sort of learn from sort of both people who've done it before. So, you know, a good example in the Baltics is definitely Estonia as well, where a lot of people are talking to other founders in both Skype-wise who've sort of done it before and learning from them. So that's a great advantage. But I guess like the number one thing is that kind of a mindset of going global from day one, definitely. And as I said, like the engineering talent and the talent in terms of sort of the technical aspects of things are quite good in a lot of these countries as well. So Ukraine, definitely. Hungary, definitely. A lot of deep sort of tech dev tools, AI/ML capabilities over there, historically as well. Both in terms of, both due to a lot of the startups that were founded before, but also a lot of US companies had their outsourcing houses over there as well. So they've sort of had this culture of working in sort of deep tech startups that have enabled them to have a good, strong sort of technical backgrounds as well. So that's why we're quite bullish that there's a lot of talent that will come out as, you know, this sort of snowball effect of learning from other people who have done it before sort of kicks in, and people do this more and more. I think there's a lot more to come out of CEE.
Thanks, Mitch. Any thoughts from you on like on founders and how you work with them here?
In terms of communicating with founder regarding going global, luckily, all the 4 companies that we invest in, their business are global business. They have to, maybe because of they are in the later stage, in Series A, or the other one is pre-C convertible. So that's not an issue with that. And because we are a segment sector agnostic, so we are generalists. So we also look into some hardware or electronics part, and that kind of founders are quite different from the young generation, like, you know, quite a few we see here in TechChill. Sometimes the way they communicate and the way they manage a company is more traditional. It's like traditional industrial guys. So for traditional industrial guy in the CE region, wanting them to open up to communicate in terms of company management, in terms of financing, is a little bit different. We are a little bit surprised, and later we were informed that, well, there could be some legacy issue because their parents were never got exposed to that kind of free economic and, you know, type of environment for them to open up and to have this for us is very normal investor and, you know, a management team's relationship. They had difficult understand how to establish that kind of relationship. Sometimes they treat the board member like one of their employees. They want to ask us to do things that suppose their responsibility. Sometimes they have problem taking advice in terms of making some very, very simple changes that's 100% normal to a companies in US or in Taiwan or Japan will just doing just like that. So we are learning. Again, we are learning. And of course, for young company into software, AI, fintech, you know, that's much, much easier in terms of communication. But of course, go-to-market, that's a different story, and we're different. But in terms of communication between individual, investor, board member, to the founders and the management team, we feel the challenge, and we are learning.
Okay. So there's work to do to find the connection with the founders in terms of understanding each other.
Yes, actually, we have a few incidents in the past few days.
Is there a enlightening story there that you could share that could give an example and not violate any privacy or?
Let me think about it.
Okay,
because
okay.
It just happened, so we are still digesting it.
Okay,
but
okay.
Again, maybe it's not just for just because of their older generation. I shouldn't say older. It's the industrial type of company and characteristic of those founders in this region. I think that the difficulty in communication happens in anywhere between investors, board of directors, and the team, and particularly the founder teams. If they are professional team, usually there's not an issue, but for founder teams, sometimes hard decision has to be made either on the founder side or the investor side. So we are learning, again, there's a cultural barrier. I was born as a Taiwanese, but I spent most of my professional years in the US. So I know how to deal with that kind of situation in the United States and in Taiwan. But when we come to the CEE region, how to understand the cultural issues and also how to understand the history of the country. There are a lot of things that we need to learn. That's why we hire a local guy. Actually, we hire Dominicus in Vilnius and Tomasz in Prague, but it's still not enough because at the end, partners like me are the guy making the decisions. So again, that's a cultural issue, and we need to conquer that barrier. But we'll try, and we believe we can do it. We only been here 10 months.
Yeah. Thanks, Mitch, for sharing. It's never.
Just to add on top of that, in terms of the culture, I guess the entire CEE region is also very different, among itself as well, right? So a Turkish kind of a culture versus a Greek kind of a culture to probably a Latvian culture is also very different. So there's a lot of adjustments to be made there as well, probably, right? So yeah.
Have you had any of these what you could think of cultural challenges? Is it more individual or is it more cultural?
I think there are cultural sort of things that you need to get used to as well. So I mean, being Turkish, having that kind of a Mediterranean kind of a background with sort of obviously I can understand sort of Greeks very, very quickly. I probably had I've been coming back and forth here as you know as well for now over 6-7 years. But obviously the Baltics culture is a bit different than that Mediterranean, very salesy, very sort of outgoing kind of a culture. So yeah, I did have some time sort of adjusting to that when I was first coming here, especially with sort of founders and how you talk and sort of whether they were interested in sort of you or not. It's much harder to read sometimes, but yeah, you get used to it.
Yeah. I'll just share one different point of view that I had working with one of our Hungarian companies. We were discussing a business partnership approach with some big global customers, and I was proposing a very global ambitious plan, and let's take a risk and trust the partner, and they should be reputable and we can take this risk. And they said that I'm actually Finnish, so they said that you Finnish, you're always so naive and blue-eyed about this risk taking that in Hungary we need to think about it more, and it's need to let's say take more consideration before taking bigger risk or choosing to trust a potential new customer as a partner. So, but finally I think we found a good way. Good. Any other reflections on this cultural aspect or the founders, or would we be open for questions from the audience?
This could be cultural side, but also have other factors. A few weeks ago in Taipei, I met a German lawyer, and he traveled to Taiwan to take care of some international business arbitration. And I got a chance to communicate with him, and we talked for a while. And of course, he's very experienced in doing international business arbitrations. And I found out that he knows very little about CE region. His understanding of the CE region in terms of startups and technology and everything is like 20 years old, or maybe 15 years old, but definitely not up to date. So after the past year of exposure to the CE region in startup, in investment, my understanding is much, much better than this German business arbitration lawyer who lives in Munich. So what I'm trying to say is, for us, this is a great opportunities. And Taiwania Capital coming to this region, of course, the 200 million is 100% dedicated to the region. We have 5 other funds, and combined together, we have 856 million under management. And starting next, in a few months, we have a total 1 billion under management. Other funds are also allowed to come to CE, to region. Actually, the one we invest in Slovenia, the AI biotech company, are invested by my fund, the CE fund, from one of the biotech fund in Taiwania. What I'm trying to say is we are very happy to be here. There are great opportunities here, and we love working with people and countries, and people from different countries. And when people ask me, why do you guys come? And we said that because we are similar, because we believe in the same values, and we speak the same language. And we want to come here to do the right thing, to invest in right people, and create beautiful result. And that's why we are here, and we want to know you guys.
Thanks, Mitch. So any questions from the audience, or? That's cool. Then that's just like, Arın, any final comments from you?
Just, similar to what Mitch has said, quite bullish on the market over in the Baltics especially as well, Latvia and Lithuania as well as Estonia. So you should be seeing us a lot more, hopefully, over the next couple of years. Find me if you're building something interesting.
All right, so to summarize, great global ambition from here, excellent talent, a bit of learning still in some of the cases in how to communicate, but I guess that you are both here to stay, right?
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
All right, hey, thanks for being here, and thanks again, Arın and Mitch.